That one
We'll take it.
interesting. That one
We'll
was
take it.
interesting. We will take that. Are you kidding me? That is much better than losing that game. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show. I am your host, Rob Haytayan. Joined with me are my three amazing co-hosts. You guys know them, Nick Franco, Justin Lowe, and Seamus Zarlingo. Guys, the Celtics tonight, well, they managed to put together a 26-point comeback on the road in Philadelphia. The Sixers obviously playing without Joel Embiid and Paul George, who were out due to injuries. On the Celtics side of things, they had obviously no Peyton Pritchard tonight. However, Boston was still able to walk away with the win tonight, guys. 118-110 was our final score. Obviously, like I said earlier, trailing by as many as 26 points. It was ugly to start this game, really 3.5 quarters in this game, or 2.5 quarters through this game, until eventually Boston was able to string together a run and come back and, get the win. So, our initial thoughts, reactions, takeaways on tonight's comeback win.
These types of games scare me the most when I see guys like Joel Embiid and Paul George out, because when you get guys like Yabusele, obviously Council the fourth in there, and Tyrese Maxey was a rising star in this league. You see those guys out. That gives these guys a chance to step up big in roles that they're not normally playing when Paul George and Joel Embiid are in the lineup. So it's almost like we have nothing to lose. We have everything to gain out of this. And that's how they were playing in that first half. And the Celtics did not look great tonight to start this game whatsoever. The first, 3.5 quarters, they looked really, really off. Offensively, they were stagnant, and even when they were getting good looks, they weren't knocking them down. I thought, Philadelphia is historically horrendous at guarding the 2-point shot, and the Celtics did not do a lot of 2-point shooting in that first half tonight. So when they heavily relied on the three, it wasn't falling, really affecting their defense. Defensively, the Celtics looked horrendous tonight to start this game off. Also have to give credit to Philly, though, for hitting some tough shots over Kristaps early on. But in the end, Celtics coming out with a huge win. Yes, a huge win, despite having to make a 26-point comeback. Probably should not have been down by 26 in the first place. This is still a really solid win for this Celtics team. And as we mentioned in the post-game shows previous to this one, wins right now doesn't mean, we're for sure going back to back, but it's definitely trending in a better position. Tonight, Jason Tatum was spectacular, guys. In this game, in this second half, Jason Tatum always shows up against Philadelphia 76ers. He did that tonight. His running mate, Jaylen Brown, as well. And then obviously we got guys like Kristaps Porzingis and Derek White, who we're going to talk about later on in this episode. But this turned out to be one of our worst games, yet one of our most, as GRD said, one of our most memorable games so far this season. So glad the Celtics got the win. Now their third straight win, which hasn't been done since late December, early January. So this is very unfamiliar territory for the Boston Celtics right now.
I know we have fresh content to talk about this time. We're not just on rinse and repeat. It could have been just replaying episodes and people wouldn't even know the difference if over the past couple of months. Because there was just so many things that we were so used to, and we were expecting to be going into this game after watching the Philadelphia 76ers first half. They were playing their asses off during the first half, killing us on the transition. It was something that the Celtics didn't really even seem like they signed up for going into that game. And at halftime, you saw the transition over. The Celtics started to play active on the defensive side, led by their two stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who really put it together going into the second half. There wasn't a single player on the 76ers roster on the court tonight or even on the bench that could have guarded Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown tonight. And they took full advantage of that. And you noticed during the fourth quarter, you were seeing players like Derek White, Sam Hauser, and
no way.
That might be the earliest change, folks.
That might be the earliest one we've gotten.
Yeah, well, I'm going to hold it until I'm done with this tape. But you saw Sam Hauser, Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis be able to get open looks and really seal out tonight's game, which I feel like is something that really helps this team transition in confidence. This is what the team's been looking for, and we have the fall count already going.
Yeah, number one on the night. But another streak and another count we have going is wins in a row for the Boston Celtics. This is becoming a monthly occurrence at the beginning of each month now. The Boston Celtics win 3 games in a row for the first time since December 31st to January 3rd. And before that 3-game winning streak, of course, we go back to December 2nd, all the way to December 6th. Now, we, of course, pull off yet another 3-game winning streak from January 29th to February 2nd. So the Celtics, at the beginning of each month, something just arises within the Boston Celtics to go, you know what? Maybe we should win 3 straight games. Maybe we can just do that after we did it all last season. And for some reason, in the month of January, the month of December, the team just couldn't do it at all. Yet tonight, it didn't look like this was going to be the third game of the Celtics, or the third win rather, within their current 3-game winning streak, because the Celtics, they were down 26 points in this game, as you guys mentioned, at one point in time. And this was just a classic Celtics performance in the first half and even the third quarter. It looked like as if, oh, yep, Celtics, they don't show up to play. They're fumbling the details all over the place. They're not getting after it defensively. The offense looks like it's just running through the motions. Meanwhile, the team in which the Celtics are facing, which was the Sixers tonight, they look like they have all the energy in the world. And Justin, you already mentioned it. They're playing for nothing essentially right now with Paul George and Joel Embiid out of the lineup. And all of these players, you got to remember too, a lot of the players out there on the court for the Sixers tonight, not exactly all paid. Yes, Tyrese Maxey, who had himself quite a night, he's paid and he's given his due, of course. But the rest of the team, well, they haven't secured multiple contracts in the NBA yet, or rather, they want to secure more as they go down further into the future. And that's what makes these games so tricky for the Boston Celtics, is because the Boston Celtics, coming off a title last year, I mentioned it in multiple games prior, where does the Celtics find their motivation? Where does it really come from against these type of teams, when these type of teams, they essentially have nothing to play for besides, I mean, come on, they're playing for the play-in at this point in time. The Sixers, after this loss tonight, 10 games under 500. A lot of the players out there for the Sixers are playing for another contract in the NBA. Even Tyrese Maxey, you could say he secured his money, but he's also going to get paid further on into the future. Wants to make all-star teams, all NBA teams. He has motivation out there as well. But it really looked like from this game tonight, it was a repeat of what we saw against the Kings earlier this season, against the Raptors earlier in January, and really the Lakers as well. The Lakers out there, this was going to be one of those nights where it looked like it was going to be one of those nights where we came in here and just bashed on the team and went, well, nothing has changed. But really over the last couple games, I would say things have changed for the Boston Celtics. And Rob, you and I talked about it last game, how some of the individual performances on the Celtics are starting that uptick a little bit. We see Derek White, we're going to mention him later. He's been playing well as of late. Drew Holiday didn't play particularly well at the start of this game, but at the end of the game, he played well. Jason Tatum, he was phenomenal tonight. This was 1,000% an MVP resume builder for Jason Tatum in this game tonight against the Philadelphia 76ers, specifically in that fourth quarter. And there just does seem to be a little bit different of a tone and an energy coming out of the Celtics team, because I think mid-January, early January, late December, we wouldn't have seen a comeback out of the Celtics in this game whatsoever. And they just chipped away in that third quarter. Of course, scored 36 points in that third quarter. And then the avalanche just fell in the fourth quarter for the Boston Celtics, outscoring the Philadelphia 76ers 38-16. And that's when the Celtics were getting after it on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively. And really the offensive end, you look at the second half, the Celtics went, my goodness, Franco. You got to get some cardboard boxes, man. You got to get some cardboard boxes. I'm telling you, the 2022 special, the 21 special. You just got to get those cardboard boxes, put them like this, stick the phone right there.
We're 10 minutes in.
We don't need all this. We don't need all this sticky stuff out there. No more sticky stuff, okay? We've seen a lot of sticky stuff out of the in the past with Franco and the Celtics, of course. No laughs out of that one, okay. But anyway, but the Boston Celtics, that fourth quarter offensively, really, it was a masterpiece, I want to say, because the entire time Jason Tatum was carving up the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Sixers were trying to double Tatum. We saw that in the Bulls game as well, and that's why Kristaps Porzingis, this is what makes the Celtics so good, is that you have an MVP candidate in Jason Tatum, who defenses are hounding on any given night. And if Jason Tatum, number one, if he's carving up that defense, that's great in itself, but even more so, if he is playmaking for others, you saw how many and down the stretch, look how many open threes the Boston Celtics were able to play make for, or rather, Jason Tatum was able to create, and the Boston Celtics were able to create, whether it was Derek White, Drew Holiday. We saw it in the Chicago Bulls game. It's why Kristaps Porzingis had 34 points that night. Everybody was focusing in on Jason Tatum, and Jason Tatum was going, I can either take you to the rim, I can pull up and shoot a three over your face, I can go to my mid range, or I can make the extra pass. I can make the proper pass, the right decision, and I'm going to find the open man, whether that's Porzingis, whether that's Holiday, whether that's White, could be Jaylen Brown as well. And all of those guys, when they're wide open, that's when the Celtics offense and really the entire Celtics team, they're hitting shots at a dominant clip. And we've been talking about this in December and in January. Get rid of the one dribble shots. Get rid of the one pass shots. Go downhill, go towards the rim, make the right decision, make that pass out, swing it around the perimeter, find those open shots. That's what the Celtics were doing late in this game. It's what they did against the Chicago Bulls the other night as well. And against the Pelicans, we saw it quite a bit in New Orleans. So the Celtics, I think they are starting to give us a little bit of a different showing here. They're a little bit of a different performance than what we've seen out of them as of late, but we do want to see it continuously go into the future and not really go away for long stretches like we saw in the first half of this game. We want to see what happened in the second half more consistently. The bright thing is, the bright side of this, and really the silver lining for the Boston Celtics, is the fact we did see it in the second half, and it resulted in an 8-point win. Looking at the score on the bottom of the on the screen here, nobody would have guessed the Boston Celtics were down 26 points in this game and committed a 34-point turnaround. Yet that's what happened, and that's really what the tone of the team was earlier this season. When the team went down big, they were never out of a game because they always knew their identity in terms of coming back, creating those open shots, hitting them, and getting after it defensively. That's what we saw in the second half tonight, and that's what we need to see out of the Celtics moving forward. Not what we saw in the first half, in which I'm sure we'll talk about more as the show goes on.
Yeah, I think that they made their open looks in the second half, and it is really, really tough to beat the Celtics when they're generating open looks and they're hitting their open looks. I thought, I mean, honestly, if I'm a Philadelphia 76ers fan,
Whoa, breaking news. Oh, no, there's no trade. You just said you were a Philadelphia 76ers fan? That was bigger than the Luka
trade
Doncic
season,
trade
you
yesterday.
can't do that, Seamus. You can't do that.
Yeah, I was like, what? No, I'm saying if I was a Philadelphia 76ers fan, I would hate Jason Tatum with my entire heart.
Honestly, not as much as I'd hate Joel Embiid with my entire heart.
I don't know, because Tatum, I mean, again, just another monster performance in Philadelphia. I was very impressed with Brown. Derek White is finally starting to look much more relaxed. Seamus, we talked about that. His game is slowed down. It just looks like he's almost just taken like a big deep breath and is really just playing more relaxed now, which is a great sign for Celtics fans. And then I thought Hauser was kind of like the unsung hero off the bench tonight because you didn't really get anything off the bench. And I think that he kind of was, you really only, with this team, you really only need one guy to kind of give you something off the bench at night. And Hauser was that guy. So again, I mean, anytime you can get a win right now for Boston, it's a great sign. 6-2 now, guys, in the last 8 games. If you want to back it up even more, I believe we're 7-3 in the last 10 now. So, I mean, definitely some positives to get going here as we move forward.
So here's what I want to say about this recent stretch the Celtics have had, winning 7 of the last 10 games, winning the last 3 in a row. It's everybody's saying, oh, Joel Embiid was out, or oh, the Celtics only won by 1 point or 3 points. Sometimes it's not about, at least for me, in my opinion, sometimes it's not about the margins of victory, whether it's by 1 or 30. Sometimes it's more of about how they play.
You get the win. Right.
Well, sometimes it's more about how they play. It's like, well, how did they get the win? whether it was by 1 or it was by 30, like, how did they get the win? This is why they got the win tonight. Really impressive win. Yes, no Joel Embiid, no Paul George, which to me is not an excuse for this Philly team, because there's no excuse to blow a 26-point lead, no matter who you have. You were up 26. And also, they've been without Joel Embiid and Paul George a majority of this season. They have really not been there. They're 2 max contract players. Paul George might have fleeced the Sixers more than Al Horford. This is ridiculous. It's definitely up there. But anytime you can go out, like you said, Rob, and get a win, but also get a win like this. This is a little bit more eyebrow lifting if the Celtics go into Philly down by 26, and Ian wanted to throw the starters in throw in the main Celtics in the third quarter. You throw the white flag in the third quarter like you did against Milwaukee last year on national TV. Then it's like, oh, wow. Like, wow, this is where we're at. Even though it's pre-All-Star break, this is kind of where we're at. But no, the Celtics didn't lay down. Sam Hauser came in, drilled some threes late in that third quarter, which really, I think, lifted Boston. That is huge when you can have a guy off your bench when your bench isn't producing. So, yes, not the cleanest win for the Celtics, but it's how they got this win late in the second half. And fourth quarters, the Celtics, if there's been one thing the Celtics have really struggled with, even in their wins as of late, it's those fourth quarters. And tonight they dominated when it was time to close out this ball game.
Well, we would no doubt about it. And guys, so how about this? So the Celtics, they finished on a 54-20 run in the final 14 minutes and 55 seconds of the game. In that time span, guys, the Celtics shot 20-27 from the floor. That is good for 74.1%. They shot 12-16 from behind the arc, 75%. They had 13 team assists, guys. In that process, the Celtics held Philadelphia to 7 of 23 shooting field goal percentage, 30.4%, and 1 of 9, which is 11.1% from behind the arc, guys. Shout out Justin Turpin on X for those stats. Guys, so when you talk about Boston, and this has been a topic of conversation so much, it feels like, in the past really 2 months since December. It's for these guys, it's tying together both ends of the floor, right? We see stints where offensively they got it going, but defensively they're letting the other team hang around, and vice versa, where their offense is putrid and their defense is kind of keeping them afloat. Tonight, in that last 14 minutes, the Celtics looked like the Celtics, and they made Philadelphia look like Philadelphia. And I think, again, that's kind of what I said about Chicago. It's like awesome.